Hello everyone, IMS welcomes you all to the webinar series, the B School Insider, all you need to know about your dream school, and I am Kalyani, your host for this webinar. So today in the B School Insider, our topic is XLRI, Campus Life Academics and Placements. And so attend this webinar and get first-hand information on the personal journey of the 4 panelists to XLRI, test prep tips, get answer to your XAT queries, why choose XLRI, business management or human resource management, how to decide, placement process and getting selected by top firms, and more. And for this session, let's welcome our speakers. We have Sharad Bang. He's PGDM from Business Management. He's a 2022 batch and he's a senior associate at BCG. We have Harshit Jain, also PGDM from BM, and he's a 2021 batch and he's product manager at Titan. We have Poorva Tendulkar. She is PGDM HRM from the 2021 batch, and she's a business systems analyst at Cisco. And we have Nivatika Narendran. She's also PGDM HRM from 2023 batch. Welcome all of you guys, and thank you so much for being here for this session. Let's start from your XAT score, your prep, and your selection process and tips. So tell us about the XAT experience. How much did you score? How many months did you prepare for? Was there anything in particular that you did to get success in this one? Of course, you can also talk a little bit about your background, whether it's engineering or non-engineering, and then your prep. So yeah.
Hi, Kalyani, and good morning to everyone who's watching this live webinar. So my name is Nivetika. I have an engineering background and I have 4.5 years of, more than 4.5 years of work experience. So when I started preparing for XAT, I was also preparing for CAT like most test takers. I think the quant and verbal section gets pretty much covered if you're preparing for CAT, but for XAT, you have to put in more efforts for the decision making part. And the only thing that I did was I went through all the past papers of XAT that were available, and I kept analyzing them because more than how much you solve and how much you get right or wrong, it's more important why to sit and understand why you went wrong, why you went right. Because two questions can appear similar, and in one of them one logic works and in the other logic works, but why is there a difference? And to take those many number of opinions, it takes a lot of time. So I think I was only mostly doing just the decision making part, and I guess I brushed upon my cons and verbal thing a week before that. My percentile was 95.8 overall.
Okay. Yeah. Purva.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So, when I was in my final year of my undergraduation, which was basically a double degree in physics and mathematics, so it is a 4 year course. I started preparing for that and the MBA entrance exams.
Okay.
So it was my first attempt. My score was 98.68 percentile. And one thing that helped me while preparing for that specifically was having strong hold on the verbal section. So I used to enjoy reading a lot, and I used to read a lot of classics, like the Animal Farm. Then I also used to go through the Hindu editorials, like almost every day. So lot of reading really helped me to develop a strong verbal section, and also to clear the sectional cutoff. They were there at that time. It really helps to be good at all three sections. So it's like giving importance to all the three sections and having one really strong section. That was my strategy, and it kind of worked out. Apart from that, I also solved a lot of mock exams, and that is it basically.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Sharad?
Yeah, yeah, I'll go next.
Yeah.
Hi guys, good morning. I'm Sharad Bang. Before pursuing MBA from XLRI, I was working with EY, so I am a chartered accountant and a cost and management accountant.
Okay.
Uh, So I was working with EY and I was undergoing classes parallelly. So I had joined the weekend batch of IMS, and it kind of helped me really well to prepare for both the exams, CAT as well as that. So what is different in that is that it is predominantly same as CAT, apart from the decision making section, as Nivedika mentioned. And decision making section can really make or break your performance. Like it is the, because I know friends who have scored 98 plus 99 plus percentile in the quants and the verbal section, but in the decision making they were not able to cross even the 70 percentile threshold. So what I would suggest is, when you are preparing for that, just focus on the decision making aspect the most, because cat you've already covered the verbals and the quant section. You might want to revisit the formulas and all those things, but focus predominantly on the decision making. And how do you focus on? So the question is, okay, you know what do you want to prepare for, but the next step is, how do you prepare for it? So the strategy for me was, I took like previous 5 years at papers, and I solved all the decision making sections. Like what sort of questions were they asking, what sort of thinking was the institute applying to solve those questions. Because see, the problem in decision making is that it is not very objective. I might think something else and you might think something else. So it is very important to understand the point of view of the paper setter. That is the key here. So while I was preparing for it, I used to I used to basically go through the questions, mark my options, and then check the answers. And then they have a reason also as to why this answer is correct or why this answer is incorrect. So go through those reasoning and try to understand the thought process of the paper setter, and that will help you a lot. So I think that is how it worked for me, at least.
Okay. Yeah, Harshit.
Hi everyone. Good morning, everyone. So I'm Harshit. Uh, Before joining my MBA, I first did my undergrad in computer science, and then I worked as a software engineer in Hyderabad. So when I gave my CAT, it was in the second year of my work experience. But given that in my third year of undergrad, I had already prepared quite a bit for CAT, although I didn't go through CAT at the end. For me, I took around 4 to 5 months to basically act as a refresher before I gave the CAT. So I went through all the sections, all the questions, gave a few mocks just to understand where my performance was, and finally then I gave the CAT. That was mostly similar. The three of the four sections are similar to CAT. It's the DM section that turns out to be different, because that is something I don't think any other exam explores. So the way I prepared for that was similar to Sharad. Took some past questions of DM, just went through them, and tried to understand what the logic was going behind it.
Okay.
So if you are looking at specifically from a XAT lens of preparation, you might want to just focus on the DM part, because if you're already preparing for CAT, you're pretty much prepared for XAT as it is.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's talk about now the experience at XLRI, as in what was the selection process like, and how exactly what were the kind of questions that were asked. So again, and of course, along with that, some tips. So yeah, again, Nivedika, you can start, because you are the current student right now, so yeah, even like more real-time information from you. So, but yeah, and then we can have Sharad, then Poorva, and then Harshit. Yeah, so we'll go ascending order now.
I feel that in XLRI, we just had the interview process, and I think they put in a lot of emphasis to the culture fit, for which the interviews are really driven to understand what the person is and how the person thinks more. And do they have, are they being morally and ethically right in given situations and things like that? So before the interview, we are asked to also submit an SOP and answer a few questions.
Right.
So typically most interviews, the questions are from your experience and from the answers that you have given. So it's completely in your territory and your comfort zone. But then how you say it and how they would like twist it to any lens, and then how you get yourself out of that, and how you answer those questions, that is typically tells a lot about the candidate. So for me, my BM interview, it was mostly on the question and answers that was given. But my HR interview, it was nothing from any of those. It was about my work experience. So then they asked me to, talk about some policy, HR policy that's there in TCS. And
Okay.
then they went, and then we went on discussing about it at
Okay.
length. So
Okay.
then they are typically, I think, trying to see how deep also you can think and how good is your analytical thinking. And basically, the culture fit is what they're looking for, is what I have understood and
Okay.
I'm assuming.
Hmm.
And that has what been my experience also.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Sharad.
Yeah. Uh, so the experience for XLRI interview. So we had this offline interview and we had three stages. So first of all, it was a group discussion. Then there was a VAT written, some written test based on the inputs received in GD, and then
Okay.
third round was the personal interview round. So we had a like a very comprehensive process, and the topics given for GD and VAT were very abstract. Like they were not very pinpointed or something. So I don't exactly remember the topics, but it was something on the lines of psychology, which is
Okay.
not my domain. So basically, first thing is that you need to be prepared for anything that comes up. And the thing which I followed, so there was a term which I did not know about in the GD topic. So what I did not speak for the first 2 minutes, and I tried to understand what that term means. What so when the people were speaking, I was trying to gather those inputs, and then
Okay.
I frame my point of view on that. So
Mm.
you need to be pretty sharp in that sense, that you need to see if you're stuck somewhere, you need to see what others are doing and then take inspiration from them.
Okay.
So this is what
Mm.
I did.
Mm.
And so GD and VAT was fine, but the PI was a very long and exhaustive process. So I was the last in my panel, and
Okay.
the faculties were in no hurry, so it lasted for good 40-45 minutes, I still remember. And they had questioned me on almost every aspect. So it began with my technical questions, like my background, if I'm a chartered accountant. So one of the professors was belonged to law background, so he asked me certain questions on law. And then it was work-ex related questions. So I was working on the GST front in my work-ex. So not just related to my work, but also what's happening in news in GST, like why are the states unhappy. So you need to have that broad mindset as to what is going on in your domain apart from the work that you're doing.
Correct.
uh,
Yeah.
Apart from that, there were a few behavioral questions, which were more on the ethics side. So, for example, so one thing which they do is, which Nevetik also mentioned. So when you give your answers in that assessment, or when you have said something in the GD, they pick up those points.
Okay.
And then they question you on that, ki acha aapne GD mein you had mentioned this thing, what exactly do you mean by this? Yeah, fir they would frame a situation on this. So they did it for me also, and they framed a question based on ethics, that you mentioned this thing in your GD. So if you are in such a situation, what would you do? Something
Right.
on those lines. So whatever you're saying, be prepared that you can get a question on that.
Right.
And apart from that, yeah, that was it pretty much. So I think they covered almost all the aspects: technical, academic background, experience, and behavioral questions, everything. So it lasted
Okay.
pretty long for me.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Poorva.
Yeah, so for my interviews, it was also offline, and there were three parts, that is GD, VAT, and PI. So for GD, VAT, I remember the topic being still smoking be illegal, and we had to basically speak of that. They and that was also the same topic. So I felt that in GD, if someone is interrupting someone constantly, it was taken in the negative light,
Okay.
and we have to give chance to other people also, and as
Okay.
well as putting forward our opinion respectfully. So I think those things were checked. For the PI, since I was a fresher at that time, I was asked questions related to my academics. So the physics and maths background, I was asked about quantum mechanics. I was also asked about Ramanujan and such things. And
Okay.
there were some behavioral questions. So I remember they asking me, if you don't hear this interview, what will you do?
Okay.
And I answered very honestly that I will probably go work in IT for 1 year and attempt the exam again. So I think being authentic was important. Apart from that, the one question they always ask, like a lot of people were asked this, was why MBA? So that question can really make or break the thing. So it is very important to be clear on your reasons on why you want to do this. And I feel like being authentic and truthful always helps. Like if the professors who are taking the interview feel that you are lying, so that is always taken in a negative light. So that's pretty much.
Correct. Yeah, Harshit.
Yeah. So I also had an offline interview. We first had a 15-minute VAT in which the topic was quite abstract. If I remember correctly, it was something like discipline is the true freedom, something like that.
Okay.
So we had to write for 15 minutes on it. And then after that, we had a 25-minute GD. And the most interesting part about our GD was that everyone was agreeing on the topic. So we kind of ran out of stuff to talk about by the 22nd minute. So for the last 3 minutes, it was a very awkward situation. There's nobody talking and we're just looking at each other's faces and we're thinking, did we just mess up this GD? But that's okay. So we had a GD. We all pretty much agreed. We put forth the top points. I think the standard GD rules should apply. Don't cut anyone. Be respectful. And have enough entries to ensure that yes, you did make an impression on the panelists.
Right.
After that, I had a 25-minute interview, which was preceded by a 1.5 hour waiting period. So lots of time to think about what you've done in life.
Yeah.
But in that 25-minute interview, I went into the room. There were 3 panelists. One of them never spoke. He was observant. So there's always that panelist. Don't ignore them because they are observing everything. But the other 2, it was basically a question of tell me about yourself, why MBA, and then some behavioral questions. They were not really satisfied with one of the answers to my behavioral question, so they asked me another one, which then melded into like a organizational behavioral plus a bit of a business related questioning. So you don't even notice that, yes, it merged into that, but when they ask questions, they try to ensure that they cover all aspects of your abilities. Since I had 2 years of work, they didn't really ask me much of academics. But this from the difference between XLRI and say others, they were trying to find much more of a cultural fit instead of just scatterfying any questions from different sectors. So it was a much more holistic interview, one might say.
Okay.
So,
okay. Let's talk about now. How did you guys decide whether business management or human resource management? How exactly is the process? As in, if somebody is interested in both, then how do you really decide on it? Is there something that maybe you guys have any tips from your own experience? Poorva, can you take this question? Poorva and Avantika. Yeah.
So with me, like most Indians, I also was not very happy with my engineering choice, and I was thinking if I did the right thing, and maybe I did it because everybody was doing it, and my parents were also like, "It's a good career, go for it." So right after engineering, when everyone else was also preparing for GRE or for going abroad or taking CAT prep and all, I was hesitant because I didn't want to do the same mistake again, which is also why I have like a lot of work experience. And since I had a very outgoing and creative kind of personality, so people used to say you'll be fit for marketing and things like that. But I feel that logic is like fundamentally flawed, and that's not the advice you should give anybody. So while I was at work and I thought maybe HR could be where I would fit in, and I tried to move my role and I took up some HR roles and I was trying to see if this is what I like, because you have to like the day-to-day working of that particular role and not just the overall picture. And so from there, I felt that, this is where I think I fit in better. And then I started preparing for XAT more seriously. And I was not very keen on CAT also, to be very honest. I went either XAT or TIS. That's what I was looking for. Then I'm happy. Like, I didn't want BM either. HR was like my first choice.
Okay. So it was your first choice. Poorva, was it the same thing for you? Was HR your first choice?
So basically, when I gave the interview, I was pretty much open to both of the streams. I just wanted to get into a top B school for that matter. but I did not clear the BM interview. I
Okay.
cleared the HR one, and I happily did. I thought clearing HR interview means that I have to work in HR, in future as well. But that is not really true. You can always switch to different domains. So
Okay.
currently I'm working in sales operations, and before that, right out of my campus as well, I was working in strategy role.
Okay.
So it's like if you like during the 2 years, if you develop interest in something else, some other domain, you can always switch to a role in the
Okay.
future.
Okay.
So I felt that being in a good B school was very important to me, regardless of the stream.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But wasn't it a bit of a problem? I mean, if you're already in, I mean, if you have been, if you took up HR and then, for the placements, were you, so do they allow the HR students to sit for the BM placements or no? Or the BM for HR? No.
So
Yeah.
there are certain companies who allow both of the HR and BM
Okay.
students to
Okay.
participate in general
Okay.
management roles, consulting roles,
Okay.
strategy roles.
Hmm.
So yeah, there is always that option.
Okay. Okay. Great. Yeah. Yeah. Sharad and Harshit, you guys can take this bit. I mean, how business management happened, and then was it business management was always there as the top? It's like, I don't want to do HR, of course, like something like that. So Sharad, you can take it, and then Harshit, you
Yeah.
can answer. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
wanted to go for business management only, and I had not even actually applied for HR interview because I was pretty sure that I don't want to, because I don't see myself as a fit in that in the HR field.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to go for business management, and it went on pretty smoothly. And I had at the end I had options between IIM Lucknow and XLRI. So I
Okay.
talked to a lot of uh, I talked to a lot of alums actually. I think
Hmm.
3 4 alums from Lucknow and 4 5 people from Excel,
Yeah.
and in the end I was convinced that I want to go for XLRI. So that was it. But yeah, this was the first choice for me.
Was it? What was the reason why
Yeah,
you
so
picked?
the why I picked BM over HR.
No, no. What was the reason why you picked XLRI?
Acha, Excel आ रहा है. So in Excel, if you see the consult opportunities are pretty good. So I had two
Okay.
things in my mind. I either
Hmm.
wanted to go for finance or I
Hmm.
wanted to go for consult. Like these were the two areas that I was predominantly targeting
Correct.
before I wanted to. And in fact, the reason for doing MBA was also that I wanted to switch my career. I
Hmm.
was doing something else and I wanted to switch to something else. So I thought that
Hmm.
MBA would be a good way to do it. So
Hmm.
that is why I was making all my decisions based on that perspective, that what will be the opportunity which I'll get after MBA. And in
Okay.
that sense, MBA, so XLRI seemed to be a better option, at least for me.
Hmm.
So I picked this up that way.
Okay.
But I would say that it's an individual call. If you see that, some other colleges some better opportunities over something else. For example, Nivedika said that she had
Hmm.
TIS and XLRI as the first
Hmm.
priority. So that is a personalized call that you need to take, that which is the field where you want to go, and then pick the college accordingly, and not just go on the generalized ranking ki ye hai to mujhe ye ranking follow
Correct.
karni.
Hmm.
Not that
Hmm.
way.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, Harshit.
So Sharad basically summed up whatever my
Hmm.
thoughts were as well. I did not really apply for HR
Hmm.
simply because I knew that my temperament was not uh, right for the HR field. So I felt that I had much more an inclination towards BM. So
Hmm.
therefore, I only applied for BM and I only gave the interview for BM
Hmm.
in that
Hmm.
case.
But what about those people, who are kind of confused about the two? And what if, somebody who was probably interested and has the skills for HR, but just took BM, and then by second year, if they feel that, okay, they would have preferred to be in HR, is it possible for them to switch or something? Harshit, can you take this?
As far as I
Yeah.
remember, there is no such facility to switch.
Okay,
So
so you
once you
have
choose
to.
a stream, you are
You have
kind of
to.
locked into said stream.
Okay, okay,
And as a rule, BM students cannot sit for HR roles.
okay, okay.
And HR students can sit for BM roles depending on the company. So some companies they do allow. I think consults they usually are fine with it. Tech
Okay,
companies they're
okay,
usually fine with it. But
correct.
companies I believe like marketing they usually don't allow.
Okay. Okay, let's take a few questions and then, we'll dive into the next section. Okay. How can we improve our profile as a fresher? Poorva, can you take this question?
If you are in final year, I would suggest join as many clubs or activities as possible. So even one day events will help. Like if there is some certification going on in your college, or if there is some event and they need hosts, etc. So do take up on those opportunities, or those will be helpful, and it will also give you experience on how to handle the group work, how to do the committee work, etc.
Okay.
Apart from that, you can always do some LinkedIn learning certificates or Coursera certificates.
Okay.
And if you have time, do opt for an internship. Even unpaid internship for some time will be very helpful in building your profile as a fresher.
Okay. Okay. There was a question about please throw some light on what could be the right way to frame an answer for why MBA. This is a question for all, I think, all B schools, because this is one question that's going to follow them. Sharad or Harshit. Yeah, Sharad, can you answer this?
Yeah. So, see, honestly, for me, it was not a very difficult task to frame the question because there was an objective behind my MBA that I had done my chartered accountancy and I was doing taxation. So I had done tax for like in my like during CA also we undergo some internship. So I'd done tax for 3 years in those internships and then for 1.5 year more at EY. So I was done with it and I was trying to switch my profile and I could not because I was predominantly called a tax person that he has been doing tax, so if we will not take him for other core finance roles or management consulting roles. So it was pretty clear for me that if I wanted to switch my profile, and I didn't see myself doing tax for that long, and this is precisely what I even mentioned in my interviews, that I'm doing taxation since so long and I don't see myself doing tax and I want to explore some other fields. So this is why I want to go for it. But some other pointers on how can you address this question, why MBA? So first of all, try to come up with a story. That story should relate to your past experience or something that you have done. So you need to say that this is where I come from. तो कुछ स्टोरी की मतलब उसकी स्टोरी ऐसी बननी चाहिए that a reason emerges from there, that MBA makes sense for you as the next step. So that is one thing, and the next thing is always focus on the pros of MBA, that MBA provides me this exposure, MBA provides me this opportunity, and that is why I want to go for it. So when you in a coherent manner, if you link those things, then it will come out as a good answer.
Okay. Yeah, Harshit, you want to add anything into it?
So Sharad is right. You must have a narrative that is going along. Because without a narrative, it just sounds like you're putting out disjointed points that make no sense. So what you want to show is that this is how I grew up. This is what I have done till now. And because of this prompted me, this inspired me to go ahead and do an MBA. And this is what I want to do with this MBA knowledge in the future. Because you're not spending what, 20, upward of 20 lakhs just for a lark, right? So you must have some sort of objective in mind. You want to showcase that objective, and that is what you should show in your why MBA. So the best way to go about this actually would be to prepare like a 300-word SOP that you can use as a reference for pretty much your why MBA for all your interviews.
Okay. There's a question about is it worth mentioning a work experience which is not relevant to the specialization you want to pursue further? Nivatika, would you like to take this?
Any work experience, relevant or irrelevant, it is worth mentioning. Because it may not be relevant to the field you're applying for, but it may have helped you in some way to build some competencies which can still be relevant and linked to MBA. So then you always need to have a lot of talking points, right? So it's always better to put anything and everything as much as you can, especially if you do not have enough points.
Okay. Do gap years affect your selection in XLRI? Poorva, can you take it?
Year, but I know people who did, and I don't think it affects as long as you can justify that gap, that why this gap is there effectively. So as long as you are clear on this and also show that you are very serious about pursuing this now, I think it shouldn't affect.
Okay. Any source for Yeah, you wanted to say something else, Poorva?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, so
Sharad.
I was
Okay.
adding
Yeah.
on to it.
Huh.
So gap years actually do not matter, as Purva said, if you
Hmm.
can justify, because I personally have friends who spent 2-3 years preparing for UPSC and they couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
So they
Okay.
decided to do MBA. So that is the most common gap that
Hmm.
actually comes across, and it is absolutely fine. You can justify that I was doing this. So I mean, what I wanted to say is that I know people who have had gap years and they still made it to XLRI. So I don't think that that should be a point of concern.
Okay. Okay. Can you all answer very briefly about your XAT exam day, the test taking strategy? Harshit, you can start, then Sharad, then Poorva, then yeah.
Yeah, well, the first thing is to keep a calm mind, because if you don't keep a calm mind, then
Hmm.
no matter what tactics or strategy you apply, it's going to end up in flames.
Okay.
Secondly, it's section wise. I think you have to
Hmm.
give each section before you can move on to the other. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong,
Hmm.
but I think it's you have to give each section before the other. So my strategy used to be just quickly, the first 2-3 minutes, just quickly browse for the question, see
Hmm.
what looks easily achievable, what looks it might take a bit of time, and what looks absolutely out of my reach until basically the end.
Hmm.
So once you have that classification, just quickly answer the questions
Hmm.
one by one. Try and get rid of the first section of questions as quickly as possible.
Hmm.
Second section was then your main builder of marks, and the third section, if there is luckily time available, you can probably look at that.
Okay.
So just follow that strategy. For that was for quant. For verbal, just read the passage twice,
Hmm.
right? Because once you read it through quickly, second time you might look at, oh wait, there's something else going on in this passage.
Hmm.
And then when you finally see the questions, you might want to understand, okay, where did I see this keyword? And then you will finally able to isolate the right passage.
Okay.
So just it's a bit of smart thinking. Just try and ensure that you read through the paper before you
Hmm.
actually go ahead and answer.
Okay.
That's my main
Okay.
point.
Yeah. Sharad?
Yeah. So Harshit said, I'll not repeat it. I'll just
Hmm.
add one more point to it.
Hmm.
There might be certain technical glitches on the day of the exam.
Okay.
Just know that everybody who is taking the exam is facing those glitches. So what
Hmm.
happened in my attempt was there was some confusion with regards to the negative marking.
Okay.
Just remember
Hmm.
that the instructions that have already been issued by the institute, final marking may, those instructions are going to be followed. So a
Okay.
lot of people got confused and then they changed
Hmm.
their strategy on the day of the exam,
Hmm.
which didn't help them. And ultimately the instructions which were originally issued were only followed despite
Correct.
whatever was mentioned on the exam screen. So the point is, if anything of such sort happens, or even if there's a technical glitch, just know that everybody else is facing that problem,
Hmm.
and don't let it take the best out of you. Just
Correct.
stay focused, just stay calm. That is what I would say,
Hmm.
apart from what Harshit has
Yeah.
already said.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Poorva?
Yeah, so I think Harshit and Sharad has pretty much covered everything. But
Hmm.
one thing I would like to add is read well before time to the exam center.
Yeah.
The reason being, you never know the traffic conditions or any other conditions. Because I remember when my that exam was there, I was well before time, but it was in Powai area, which is famous for its traffic.
Hmm.
So there was a very, very high traffic there. And
Hmm.
I had to get out of my cab and walk to the center because of that.
Okay.
So if I
Hmm.
wasn't
Yeah.
if I
Correct.
wasn't before the time, it wouldn't have been possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Nivatika, tell me, you had your cat was for 2 hours, right?
Your cat
Yeah.
was?
Your cat duration was for 2 hours, right?
Yeah, it was for
Yeah,
2 hours.
yeah. So and that is for 3 hours. Was there anything specifically you had to later on, recalibrate yourself for that?
So actually, I was preparing for CAT from the year before also. So
Okay.
it was
Okay, so
difficult
it
for
was
me
3 years.
to
Yeah.
adjust
Hmm.
to the 2 hours, then
Okay.
to with the 3 year
Okay.
away.
Okay.
That was the trouble.
Hmm.
But then that it is not as taxing as CAT, because CAT also has this DRLI section, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That that's very taxing. But in
Hmm.
that, if you have a affinity towards reading, then it should be very light, because then DM also goes very quickly and verbal also goes
Hmm.
very quickly. The
Right.
quant level is also not like very, very difficult.
Hmm.
It's manageable compared to CAT.
Hmm.
And
Hmm. Okay.
So that
Which,
here is not a like
okay.
it doesn't feel like that.
Okay, this question is also for you, Nivetika. Which exam is more tough to crack, TISNET or XLRI?
I think this could be tougher in the sense that its GK is very
Yeah.
all over the place.
Correct.
And the
Yeah.
cutoff is also very high, which means that you cannot afford to lose even 1 mark from the cons or verbal section. Although the sections are very easy.
Okay. Okay.
So and the exam goes fine for almost everyone, and a lot of things depends on luck, like which GK section you paid more focus to, and if that happens to come to the on the exam and things. So I think this is a little more difficult.
Okay, okay. We'll take some more questions regarding XAT prep, test prep, and all other CAT prep and all those questions in a bit. Let's talk about a little bit about academics. Can you guys talk about a little bit about your favorite faculty, favorite class? Sharad, you can start, then Nivetika, then Poorva, then Harshit. Favorite faculty, favorite class.
Yes, so for me, favorite faculty was Sumit Sarkar, and I think a lot of people would agree to it. He is pretty strict, but the way he explains, so he is probably one of the best faculties in India for economics.
Okay.
And his game theory lectures are actually worldwide popular.
Okay.
So he's a great faculty, and apart from him, there's Apratim Guha sir, who is a good quants faculty. And then in finance, there are professors like Pitabas Mohanty and Sabyasachi sir, who are pretty good. So these were so since my background is finance, so I usually tend to like faculties from finance and economics domain. So I like these faculties a lot. And the strategy, the academic wise, it's I think it's pretty easy to score in an MBA in a B school, because because the content is very, because there are frequent exams, frequent quizzes and everything. So anyway, even if you're studying just for a night before the quiz or something, by the time your end terms come, you're actually well prepared for it. So it is not a very difficult task to prepare for it. Apart from that, a lot of score is from academic projects and these kind of things. You need to submit some projects or something, or give some presentation or something. So if you do a decent job there, so I don't think it's a very difficult task to do that. So I was also a Dean's Merit List holder at XLRI.
Okay.
And I think it's manageable. I mean, academics should not be a point of concern for you. The first term might be a little hectic because there are a lot of things going on. You are new to the college, then there are placements and there are committee selections. But the remaining 5 terms, term 2 to term 6, it's pretty chill and it's absolutely manageable.
Okay, okay. Nivatika.
Like Sharad said, I think Sumit Sarkar sir was really good, and I do not have an economics background, but I thoroughly enjoyed the subject in my term. And apart from him, I really like Professor Bagchi. The way his classes are is it's like every class is a different league. It's so you get to learn so many new things. And the way
what does he teach?
So for us, he taught project management in our term, and his structure is generally that he has a book of cases, and each team gets a case, and in every class there are I think 3 teams who will be presenting on the same case. After which we will have a discussion on the same case.
Okay.
So. But then you will realize how off you were from the case when Bagchi sir actually explains the case. So it's like he brings in new angles to the case every time, and how he manages to do, I don't know. So yeah, I really admire.
Okay, Poorva.
Yeah, so for me also it was Soumendra Bakshi. He used to teach us performance management, and I realized his case-based curriculum because it led us to learn a lot of things about the real-world application of what we are learning. So I really liked that. Apart from that, I liked law professor Kant Sarkar because he also explained very practically about the law applications, what is happening, what is like how we can apply them in the real life, etc.
Okay, yeah, Harshit.
Yeah, so in my first year, I really like Sabyasachi Sen Gupta. So he taught us accounting.
Okay.
and he used to teach it in a manner that used to ensure that you get to know what accounting really is. Even though his exam papers used to be very horrible to give, but he taught us very well.
Okay.
Sumit Sarkar was always excellent, but economics was never really my strong suit, so I can't really say that's a favorite subject. In marketing, I would say Pingali sir and Vashni sir, these two were excellent, and whatever they taught, I am still using it to some extent today, because the subjects that they teach are very core aspects of marketing, sales and distribution management, as well as consumer behavior. And both of these form the basis of any brand manager or marketing manager's career. So I feel that they taught it very well and it's very useful.
Okay. Okay. Harshit, when should we start taking XAT walks, as we also have CAT prep going on?
You can probably take them at this. I didn't take too many XAT mocks, I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
But if you had to take it, probably, if given that the XAT, I think XAT occurs in January, you might want to start looking in September or October. That maybe you should take a look at where you stand with respect to XAT mocks. Okay. Otherwise, CAT mocks serve the purpose just as well, apart from the team section.
Okay. 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 So let's now get into the next section, which is all about placements and internship. So let's talk about the summer internship. So maybe, Nivatika, you can talk a little bit about your summer internship in HR, and Sharad, you could talk about your internship process in BM, as in which were the companies and all that. Yeah. And then quickly we will get into the placements bit. Yeah, Nivatika.
So my summer internship was with Optum, and it was work from home. So
okay.
they had, so they had shared the project charter from before, I mean, they had shared it much earlier, and it was so it was on succession planning, and it was like a core HR topic. I was very interested in it, and the work was also very good. People were very supportive in the organization, and you could just connect with everyone over Teams, and they would be just so happy to share anything that you want related to the project. And overall, my experience with Optum was really good.
Okay. Okay, Sharad.
Yeah, so I'll first go through the internship selection process, basically.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So the internship selection process is such that, first of all, there's a consult process, like for consulting firms. So that starts pretty early. Like it starts 1 month, almost 1 month before the actual internship process starts. So it's a long process which I went through. So the process is pretty structured at XLRI, and I think that is the best part about it. We have a specific committee in place which prepares you for the consult prep. Apart from that, there are buddies are allocated to you, and so basically you need to practice a lot of cases, and the structure is in place such that you get the opportunity to practice a lot of cases. And so once the consult process ends, the consult interviews have happened and the people have been allotted their internships. After that, the main process starts. The main summer internship process starts when all the companies come up. So there are pretty good companies in marketing and Prodman. For example, all the major FMCG companies come to XLRI, be it Kolpal, HUL, and you name the company, and probably it comes for it, Nestle and all, everything. For Prodman also, we have pretty good companies. We have Media.net, Amazon, Walmart, Microsoft. We have all these companies coming up. So the process typically goes down for like 2 or 3 days majorly. So first of all, it goes for consultant, then it goes on for the other roles. So that's how it goes. And the preparation process at XLRI is, I must say, pretty good. Not just for consult, there are separate committees for marketing, there are separate committees for finance, for operations, and each committee has its as its responsibility, prepares all the candidates for those roles. There are a number of mock interviews lined up for you. Then the seniors review your behavioral questions and everything. So it's a pretty exhaustive process. And since it happens in the first term, that is why I said that the first term might seem to be a little bit hectic, but once it ends, it's all worth it. You become a better and a smarter person by the time the process ends.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the placement process and the placement. So yeah, Harshit, can you take us through your personal experience of the placement process till your selection into TAS, and also then you can talk about Titan, your work.
Okay,
Titan.
sure. So, so basically, my placement process happened in January. I took part in the lateral placement process, which we call the LRP.
Okay.
Right. So for LRP, there's always a set cutoff that is announced every year that you need this much minimum work to qualify.
Okay.
So in that, it's a similar structure. So this is a rolling placement process. It does not happen over like 3 days. It happens over a month.
Okay.
And before laterals, you have the consult process as well. So consult shortlists come out, then companies start coming for laterals. So TAS, I think, was the first company that came in.
Okay.
And their process that they had a resume shortlist. You had to fill out a form with behavioral questions. You had a gamified assessment, post which you were shortlisted for a chairman GD.
Okay.
Passing through the chairman GD, you went into a presentation. Since you presented what you did in a summer internship. All these are eliminative stages.
Okay.
And post that, you have the final interview, which consists, for at least for our time, it was 3 panelists, and that would be a 30-minute interview that happened.
Okay.
So that was our task process, and this happened in January, and I cleared that.
Yeah. Okay.
So post that, since you wanted me to talk about Titan as well, in TAS you have 4 stints. Post all the 4 stints, you have a mini placement process, you could say. So companies will submit their job descriptions that's available. You will apply and post an interaction/interview. They will decide whether they want to select you or not. And through that, I got into Titan.
Okay. All right. Poorva, can you talk about your placement experience? What were the kind of questions that were asked? Was Cisco part of the placement, or was it later on? Yeah.
So my placement happened in mid of February. So I wasn't eligible for lateral placements, of course, because I did not have work yet. So it is called CRP when it is a placement process for people without work, etc. So it maximum lasts for around 2-3 days. It was virtual in my case because of COVID. So I gave all the interviews to my hostel room. And basically before the placements, there are a lot of forms, different forms for different companies, and sometimes even tests, but which are there, which are rolled out. So like assessment tests, etc. That happens before the placement. On the day of placement, it is mostly interviews and GDs.
Okay.
So I took part in few of the GDs and interviews, and after that, I was selected for the company SCL Technologies in a strategic advisor role. So their interview process consisted of 3 rounds. First was the technical interview. The second was also technical round, but it was with the director of the company, and third was the HR round. So in the first 2 rounds, they basically asked me a lot of general questions. Since this wasn't for the HR role, they asked me about my abilities with the data, etc. And also about my summer internship, what I did. And they also asked me some behavioral questions about why you switched, like why MBA and why you want to do this instead of HR, etc. So those I think and the interviews lasted for around 30 minutes each, and after that I was selected.
Okay. Yeah. Sharad, can you take us through your experience, your placement experience, and then how BCG happened? Was it through campus placements?
Yeah, it was through campus placements only. And I had received a pre-placement offer in my summer internship. So as I said, that the process starts, so it's a pretty long process in the thing, in the sense that first of all, there comes a shortlist where if you're shortlisted, then there's a whole consult prep process that goes on for around a month. You are allotted your case prep buddies. So we practice in groups, and we have our buddies allotted who help us practice the cases. So we practice 50, 60, 70 cases, and these are typical business cases. Your client is facing a decline in growth, decline in sales. What would you do? Something on these lines.
Okay.
Yeah, so these are like good 30, 40-minute cases, and then we also analyze those cases, what could be better and everything. So it goes on for around a month, and then on the day of the interview, the interview happens. So the structure of interview for BCG, or for that matter for any other consult firm like McKinsey, BCG, Bain, it is such that the companies, the partners take your interviews. So there are typically 2 or 3 rounds where they give you these kind of cases only, that
Okay.
assume you are this. So for me it was like, assume you're Nirmala Sitharaman, and at that time the COVID had hit the economy. So
Yeah.
my case was, if you want to revive the economy in the next 6 months, what are the short term measures that you will take, and what is the process that will follow. So this was the case for me. So this is how it goes on. And then on the same day itself, they tell us that whether we are in for the consult or not. So this is the whole summer internship process.
Okay.
The most important part is that you should be consistent to practice cases for all those 30, 40 days that you are getting. Because what happens is, if initially you are very energized, you do 4, 5, 6 cases a day, then by the time the actual process starts, you are already exhausted, that now I cannot practice anymore. So that is how it goes. And during my internship, so it was predominantly a work from home internship. I had to travel once, but apart from that, it was work from home only.
Okay.
And it was an industry based case. So it went on pretty smoothly. Like, there was no problem as from the BCG's end, and then we were given our pre-placement offer. So after that, it was pretty smooth. I mean, there was no problem as such. So this was it.
Okay. There was a question about, I get five. I have 5.8 CGPA in graduation. Will it affect my chances to get in XLRI? So can you tell us a little bit about what is the kind of score? I mean, how much? What's the division like for 12th graduation, and for to get selected, and of course for XAT score. So what is the kind of benchmark that XLRI is looking for? Devatika, can you answer?
Yeah, I'm not really sure in this, but then I have a 7.93 in my graduation.
Okay.
I think they put in a lot of weightage for how your interview goes.
Okay.
And also they put in a lot of weightage for, in the sense that you have to clear the cutoff scores in all the 3 sections.
Okay.
So after that, if you really can kill the interview, I think it should not be a problem.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay. Sharad, Harshit, you want to add anything to it?
Yeah. So the selection process has, as Nivedika mentioned, it has the final interview has a pretty good weightage. Your VAT, your GD, your PI, whatever is happening. Apart from that, so for me also, I had less than 70% in my graduation, because I was simultaneously pursuing CA and CMA. So I also could not score a very high percent in my graduation, but it did not hinder my selection process. You just need to have some spikes or something. So for example, in my XAT, I had 99.25 percentile. So even if you do not have a very high 12th score, or do not have a very high graduation score, that is fine. That should not be a problem. Just focus on your XAT process, because that alone, your percentile and your interview can alone take you through the entire process and get you in XLRI. So I don't think that should be a matter of concern.
Okay. Harshit, can you Nivedika, you want to say something?
Saying also, you have already you have done with your graduation exams, you have done with your 10th, 12th exams. You cannot change your marks.
Correct.
So what is the point in thinking about if it is going to affect your chances or not? If the question was, is it going to be a deal breaker and I wouldn't get a chance at all, that's a different question. Then maybe you don't have to put in efforts. But then here, we're thinking if it's going to affect chances, then there is no point in thinking that. I think let's not have that hesitation in our head itself. Maybe I'll get, maybe I won't get. Just
go for it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Harshit, can you give a few tips for writing the SOP?
For the SOP, it's basically you want to start off by first of all listing whatever you've done in your life, right? That helps out in actually creating a structure for what you're trying to portray. So
Okay.
once you have a list of bullet points, you want to frame them into a nice narrative. So you might want to start off key. Maybe you've done something in your undergrad. Why did you choose that undergrad? Right. What were the core reasons for you going into that field? What did you do after that? Why did you do that? Basically, the whole point of this exercise is to figure out why. Why are you doing whatever you're doing? Right. Because if there is no reasoning behind what you're doing, then maybe you're not the perfect fit for an MBA, because an MBA mostly involves the question why. So understand that, and then you have to basically extrapolate that to what you are trying to achieve via an MBA. Do you want to advance your career? Do you want to laterally switch?
Yeah.
What's the reasoning behind that? You have to show, and that fits in.
Okay.
And you have to do it all within 300 words.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. So we have very little time now. Well, Sharad and Poorva, you guys are going to show a few photos, and I believe from the campus, from your memories. Yeah. So Sharad, you can go first, and then Poorva. Yeah.
I'll just share my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the campus. So campus is pretty beautiful at XAT. It's a green campus. There are a lot of trees and everything. It's a very beautiful campus. So this picture is taken around some 6:30 in the morning. So
nice.
it's a very nice campus. And then like these are class parties and all. So basically there are a lot of parties happening in campus. So committee parties, class parties. So the social life is pretty chill. And then this is a picture. So there's a committee on marketing which was distributing free goodies. So like you can see these earbuds and these so basically free goodies. So a lot of things keep on happening. Then you get free t-shirts, free goodies and everything. So there's a lot of fun which actually happens apart from the academic part. And then these are the pictures from a few trips. So there's a Professor Kalyan Bhaskar. So whosoever takes his elective subject, he takes for a field trip. So there's a picture from the field trip where he had taken, and it was a pretty good field trip actually, where we get to learn a lot of the practical insights. So these are a few pictures from the practical field trip. And then this is the final picture where when we're leaving for our graduation trip, like after XLRI had ended. So these are some of the pictures. And then finally coming to the festivals are celebrated, like the celebration is grand to say the least. So there's a picture of Diwali where we had some 500-600 lanterns. We had we had flown in the sky. And then next is a video which is from Holi basically. So I think I have not shared the audio, but this is basically the Holi celebration at XLRI. So all the festivals are celebrated with great grandeur, and the social life is pretty chill. I wanted to look for a few photos from the sports domain also, but I could not. I could not find any. But the sports are also given due importance at XLRI, in the sense that we have XLRI IIM Calcutta a rivalry, which is a pretty famous rivalry in the B school domain. And apart from that also there are multiple sports events that happen throughout the year. So overall, you get a very good exposure in all the domains at XLRI.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, Poorva, do you have something?
I couldn't find many pics, but this was during Diwali. So the entire building is decorated. This was during the alumni homecoming. So when all the alums come and they have sort of party kind of thing at campus. Then this was during Christmas. So all the trees are kind of decorated, and it's a very beautiful campus, as Sharad said. And there is a lot of greenery also around the campus, which is something I really like. There are a lot of flowers and trees. So it's like great to feel like when you are walking at night or taking a walk.
Yeah, so that's all we have time for. So, but before we wrap up, can you guys all give a few tips? Okay, there is this one question that's been repeated many times, so we must answer. Can I rely on my prep of CAT 2023 for taking XAT, MAT, GMAT? Okay, Harshit, would you like to answer?
The answer is yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
so you can
do it. You can do it. There's just some additional things you have to do for all the others, but pretty much CAT can be your base.
All right. Okay. So one tip each for XAT preparation, for PI, whichever one you guys want to take. Okay. XAT prep, PI, form filling, profile building, and overall test prep, because obviously almost all the XAT takers would be taking CAT as well, and CAT is right around the corner now almost. So yeah, so any tip? So Nivetika, you can start, then Sharad, then Poorva, and then Harshit.
I think more than practicing, what is important is to keep revisiting where you went wrong and to ensure that you don't make the same mistakes again.
Okay. Sharad.
Read as much as possible till your interview, even beyond. But for now, read as much as possible. It is going to help you, be it decision making, be it verbals, be it your personal interview. It is going to help you because the knowledge that you get from reading, the current affairs, what's happening around the world and everything, you can always show your knowledge somewhere in the personal interview, and it's definitely gives you brownie points. So just one thing which I did thoroughly during my prep, I read a lot. So just that one.
Okay. Poorva, can you give a tip on profile building?
Profile building,
For freshers, from freshers' point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say do as many activities as possible around your campus. And if you are taking gap year, you can always do some internships, certificates, etc. And another thing, during the PI, just know yourself that whatever you have done, like even as a fresher, know yourself what you want to do, what is your life story. So it becomes very easy to justify your profile in that way if you know yourself well.
Harshit? Yeah, you can give tips on whichever one you want to.
Sure. So I'll give something for the GDPI. Right? If you don't know something, feel free to say that I do not currently know this, but I'll check up on this later. And that's something I'm aware about.
Yes.
Because see, these panelists are seasoned, experienced folks. You can't really lie to them, so might as well be honest and see where it goes.
Correct.
So feel free to say that yes, I do not know this currently. There's always some shortcomings. Feel free to admit that. Okay. And the rest, just know yourself.
Yeah.
And be prepared.
All right. Okay, that's all we have time for. Thank you all the attendees for all the questions, and thank you so much all the speakers. Thank you Sharad Bang, thank you Harshit Jain, thank you Poorva Tendulkar, and thank you Nivetika Narendran.
Thank you for
having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.